Welcome to Monarchist Minute. I'm your host, William Stout, here with Leon J. Korolevsky, Austerlitz, and New Prussian Mad Lad. It's been a while since we've had an episode. We've been busy with the holiday season. For that, I would like to apologize. But we got a full docket tonight, let me tell you what. Austerlitz and New Prussian Mad Lad wanted to come in and talk about some foreign policies in the growing state of the multipolar world. And Leon's got some very, very interesting domestic infighting going on as well in the current Republican camp. But before we begin, I want to ask, how is everyone this evening?
Outstanding, sir.
Doing great. Thanks for asking.
Leon?
Trying to relax with the hectic holiday season.
I hear it, man. Holidays are hectic for me, too. Always hectic if you're a child of divorce. You get more holidays you have to go to. And this year is actually the first holiday where I have a girlfriend's holidays to go to. So cheers!
Show off.
Anyway, Austerlitz, I believe this was you who wanted to start the conversation about multipolar world and foreign policy, so I will let you introduce the topic if you would like to.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for having us on. We'll always look forward to being on here.
Always happy
Yeah,
to have you
so
on.
indeed. And in case I'm sure you guys have been following the news, this entire, I would say, yeah, all of 2025 has unfortunately seen the US go from being helpful to its allies, even though I admittedly ran a bit incompetently with the last administration. Well, not even a bit, a lot incompetently with the last administration, to being outright hostile to Europe, which is very unfortunate. And it's contributing, in my opinion, and the opinion of several other people, to a multipolar world where instead of there being a clear west and east side, it is becoming the US, Europe and its allies, and then the East. So, Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, along with their proxy groups. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon because the Trump administration recently released its national security. I forget the full name, but basically their plan for foreign policy, and it is a withdrawal from Europe and the Middle East and a refocus on the Western Hemisphere, while at the same time barely calling out Russia for what they're doing in Ukraine, and also laying the majority of the blame for problems in Europe on the European leaders, which whatever you think of how people are doing things, for example, in the UK, I know there's controversy with the law for speaking on social media. Same thing in Germany. And I know that there's controversy about how Ukraine's running the war. But the problem is, in the past, the US has always been able to keep those disagreements private. So that way our enemies don't see that there is infighting going on. But with this administration, and again, I really hate to throw them under the bus, but I kind of have to. This administration is incompetently, in my opinion, causing a multipolar world by letting these disagreements be known. This was first seen in February when the president had a very public argument with Zelensky, not threatened to cut it, did in fact cut intel and aid to Ukraine, which directly led to Russia taking more land, and then also proceeded to threaten Denmark to try and get Greenland, which luckily failed. And now they're just
You cut out Austerlitz.
where in the past Europe had to rely on the US for a lot of stuff. We're now seeing a Europe trying to basically fend for itself. which, I mean, is a good thing, but at the same time, it's worrying how quickly this is changing. Because Europe, of course, needs to rearm, they need to rebuild their military, and they're being caught with their pants down right now. So it's very worrying to see where it's going, in my opinion. And that's
And
just the
then,
multipolar thing.
yeah, and as an American patriot and generally speaking American nationalist, it's very satisfying seeing the whole patronizing nature of the European powers kind of coming to roost about how America has no social services and stuff because their lack of defense spending has allowed them to pour funding into all of these social services. It's really nice seeing that come to roost.
No, yeah, it is. I
Well,
mean,
I
I've
mean,
been talking to, yeah.
it's not good for the developed Western world that it is coming to roost, but you can appreciate the Schadenfreude a little bit.
Oh, of course. It's like an I told you so kind of moment where Europe
Mhm.
is gloating about their superior social services over ours. So,
Right.
but
But
from a political science major point of view, it's very sad to see the US basically throwing away its influence. I mean, the US still has influence when they want to have it. But right now it looks like they're really throwing it away right now and blaming Europe for stuff for no reason. Whether people like Ukraine or not, the fact of the matter is that you can't just help a country for years on end and then have a very public fight with that country and then try to throw that country away. Like, that
well,
doesn't exude confidence amongst our allies at all. How do you think China feels when they see us abandoning Ukraine? I mean, I mean,
I mean,
speaking of
yeah,
China, just a few months ago, and this is another reason why I support Kanzuk now. Um, Trump actually sidelined a Taiwanese delegation just so he could score points with China. So he's already throwing Taiwan under the bus.
Many U.S. presidents have sidelined the government in Taiwan because
Yeah,
they
and
don't
it's
want to piss
worrying.
off the Beijing.
It's worrying.
But I'm
It's very
saying it's not
worrying.
unique with Trump. It's not unique. Biden did
Well,
Trump
it's
did it
not that
before in his
it's
first time. Obama, Bush Jr. keep going down
well,
since
it's not that it's unique. It's that he's keeping that going is the problem. It's that he's keeping it
well,
going is the problem. Because eventually
but
you need to have a president that's going to say, you know what? Nope, I'm going to fully back Taiwan. I'm not going to throw them under the bus. But the problem is, we are not seeing
he,
that. And I think that's going to be very, very bad for our foreign policy in the
I don't
long
think
run.
he's throwing them away. Like you have to look at this from like the grand scheme. You can't look at this from like the day to day stuff. In my opinion, he's not throwing away Taiwan. He's treating Taiwan like he's treating every other country, which that's a different conversation if that's good or bad. But like he's not sacrificing Taiwan just because he woke up on like the other side of the bed this morning. And to get back to to where you began, I fundamentally disagree that Trump is creating a multipolar world. Trump has nothing to do with it. Well, no, let me take that back. He might be. It's arguable that he's accelerating it, but he's not the one who decides if we live in a multipolar world or not. That's gonna happen. It's happening. We've seen it happen. He just happens to be the one in office right now as this process is changing. As we go from the unipolar moment with America as the sole world superpower back to a more traditional multipolar international system.
and to counter your point also, that's about it, it's very sad to see America throwing away all of its influence. I would say that America had too much just unjust influence in the aftermath of the Cold War. And I think this problem goes all the way back to the aftermath of World War II. But America, from a global perspective, grew too much too quickly. We went from being a somewhat isolationist regional power on the American hemisphere to being a contender of one of two superpowers to being the sole hyperpower in less than 60 years. So I think what we are seeing right now isn't necessarily America throwing away its influence as much as America became extremely overextended very, very rapidly. And so now we're sort of seeing the inflation of American influence come to head. Okay, think of it from an economic standpoint like when a stock market needs to rebalance because companies are overvalued. America's power and influence was too overvalued due to the power vacuum after the Cold War ended. Now we're just seeing the rebalance.
Question, what did you want to say?
I just want to say I agree with your take on this. That we're starting to see the
You make sense.
culmination of American influence, like American influence in the global stage, coming to a head. And I think that my personal take on this as a monarchist is that uh, while this new world that we're starting to see take shape, this chaotic multipolar world, it has its dangers for sure. It has risks, but I think that there's a silver lining in seeing this decline of American influence, this decline of this. I think it was this large bastion of the neoliberal world order starting to recede, and it would, and I think with the decline of American influence combined with the rising chaos of the multipolar world, it should incentivize America's allies to be more self-reliant, and in the process, uh, that should be beneficial for monarchist movements who try to restore monarchies in their respective countries, like in Europe, where they don't have to worry about like the cultural influence of the United States or anything like that. That's my take on it.
Well,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I agree with that in part, but also I feel like we also need to accept the fact that one, monarchy isn't this magical band-aid solution that will just fix every problem. Like, yes, it's a good tool and it's a good
Oh
idea,
yeah,
but
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like talk about like the what this could mean for monarchism, like the rise of the
right.
multipolar world, what it could mean for monarchists
And
across the world.
the second thing we need to think about is the European Union has also very, very much drank that liberal democratic Kool-Aid because it's a very French and German dominated what's the word I'm looking for? Not league, but
Organization.
power
It's
block.
yeah,
And
that
both
that
of
has
those
to go.
nations are two very, very anti-monarchist nations. Unfortunately, even though they have very strong monarchist communities in them, both of their regimes are very anti-monarchist in themselves.
Yeah, so if need be, if the EU has to be done away with, I pray that that day will come.
I
Well,
don't.
here's my hot take, and disagree with me if you want, but I think it's overall a good thing if we start pouring out of Europe and also like also the Middle East. I'm sick and tired of having to invest so much into these two places. These two
I'm
places
actually
we've strangled for decades. We've pulled billions, if not trillions, of dollars in them, and I just want to slowly, gradually withdraw. That doesn't mean we completely retreat like we did with Afghanistan and that mess, but like we gotta start reopening back to the homeland.
I
And
completely
yeah,
agree with that.
and I agree with what was said earlier. The Europeans have they've been living the high life based off American tax dollars. I think this is obvious. You just look at the budgets. Look at the budgets of the U.S. government versus like the Western European countries. They've been able to put everything in social services because they spend nothing on defense, the bare minimum on defense, because you had the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force there. I mean, look at the reports from like the UK armed forces in the past like 2 or 3 years since the full scale invasion of Ukraine. They have the I forget the term for it,
Here, 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 here.
It's really a sad state.
It is, and they. I'll blame them. I'll blame the Europeans for they've made the bed. Now they can either choose to sleep in it or they can rework the whole system to save themselves.
Either
Go
the
on.
Europeans do away with their bloated managerial aristocracy, both in their own governments and in the EU, unless they get rid of that outdated post-war neoliberal world order, then if they're going to go into that sinking ship, I'm sorry to say this, and it's sad for me to say this as a Europhile, but if they're going to latch on to the sinking ship of neoliberalism, so be it. They would deserve everything that's coming to them.
I agree. You know
I'm
what?
sorry to say that.
It's an unpopular opinion, but at this point I feel no loyalties or no affinity towards Europe. As I truly disagree with this whole idea that America and Europe are fraternal brothers or cousins, and that we're obligated to save them every time, whether it be from the Russians, from like financial collapse, mass immigration from the third world, any of it, all of it. I feel no sympathy for them. They can figure it out on themselves.
JD Vance.
Well, personally, I do have a deep respect and love for Europe again because I'm a Europhile. But my love is tough love, basically. I'm speaking from a place of tough love.
Now,
I think I'm the only pro-Europe person here, probably that feels more loyal to Europe than anything.
No, I'm with you.
But-
I'm just like
Yeah,
in principle, I'm with you, but in policy, I'm with Leon.
that's okay.
I'm the middleman here.
now, I do think Europe is going to be spared because I don't think Russia actually poses a threat to long term on the European continent. Like they couldn't even take Ukraine, and it's almost been 4 years now. I don't
Yeah,
think
no.
Russia's an actual real threat to the whole of the European continent.
I agree with you. I think I'm gonna use the British just because it's like they're the only ones who like post articles in English on a regular basis. Ignoring France 24, whatever it's called. But like the Europeans, if they actually got their crap together, they could like the Russians would not be a threat to them. This idea that like the Russians are it's gonna be like 1944, 45 again, and the millions of Russians, with like machine guns and tanks like a steamroll through Ukraine, Poland, Germany, and to like the coast of Normandy, it's BS. The only thing they have to worry about is the Russian nukes again, and that's a whole nother realm. That's a whole nother realm separate from war, like conventional war and stuff. And at that point, you just need the British and the French to get the crap together.
With you saying all that, it just dawned on me that the Europeans, the Russians, in fact, we Americans and the peoples of the Middle East all share this one thing in common. They are like their greatest threat to their own respective countries are themselves.
Truly. Now, here's another thing I think we don't have to worry about is, dare I say it, we don't have to worry about China filling the power vacuum of the United States because China, for whatever their flaws are, for whatever their hubris and their arrogance, they're very aware of the flaws of others. And I think China is also going to be very aware of, as I said earlier, that America grew too big too quickly. And China has always been a regional powerhouse in itself. So even if America were to recede, I can't see China going much further beyond the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. for the simple fact that China's not themselves isn't going to overextend themselves outside of their Asian sphere of influence. And Russia, I see Ukraine as the death rattle of the continuing dying Russian state. And I don't see a future for Russia after Putin because I don't see competent leadership in Putin's line of succession, because dictators seldom put competent leadership in the line of succession so they don't get overthrown themselves.
I mean, to begin with, it depends on what you qualify as like Chinese global influence. Like the U.S. and China is always going to have like financial investments and economic investments in like all over the world. I mean, look at Singapore, look at Africa, and this goes for any major power. I agree that though originally originally I was suspicious of it, but I can't see how the Chinese could extend hard power, like military hard power and stuff beyond its traditional sphere of influence. Because you have like India, for example. It wants to like get in the empire game just like everyone else. And then you have the U.S. is not going to pull out of Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Like this is like that's all like main reign against China to make sure China can't take over like the entirety of East Asia or whatever. We have the military investments, we have the economic investments, we have the cultural ties. We're not going to leave there, especially since the small but strategic and important. It makes so much more sense to invest in these like these few countries in East Asia versus the entirety of Europe and the Middle East.
And I also think we need to do more to invest in Latin America too.
I agree. Makes
Yeah.
sense. The closer to
We'll
home to
see
us.
exactly what happens with Venezuela as well, whether that happens or not. If it does, we'll see if we invest in that country, or if it doesn't, who knows? But I do think, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the administration wants to refocus on this hemisphere, so I do think that we're probably going to see more investment for Latin America soon.
If this means that we're going to start seeing annexationist rhetoric being ramped up towards Canada again, this would be a boon for the pro Kensuk crowd.
Okay, as
We might, and that's exactly where Kansas, and I mean that would actually, from a Kansas standpoint, because I'm going to be helping with the campaign in 2026 to for more activism for Kansas. That would actually, ironically, be helpful, just as Trump making those 51st state comments was helpful in the election to make Carney the new prime minister. So, but we'll see what happens.
So, I actually wrote an article on our Substack about this a while back. New Prussian Mad Lad, you've probably seen it before. But as I'm going to reiterate this because annexation of Canada was brought up, as an American self-subscribed American ultranationalist that actually does believe Canada is an integral part of the United States that's only been kept separate by British imperialism, being openly vocal about annexing Canada is counterintuitive.
Wait, was this article of yours fatal faux pas? Because if so, I think I read it. Yeah, I read it. Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
So, to summarize that up for those who haven't read it on the podcast, the idea is that the U.S. has spent the last 100+ years building soft power over Canada to basically displace British influence. All of these quote-unquote unprofitable trade agreements aren't us not profiting with trade in Canada. It's us basically buying a monopoly on the Canadian economy. We had all the soft power over Canada. We were having all the cultural influence. Canada and America were becoming more culturally inseparable than they had ever been, more economically inseparable than they've ever been. and we could have softly brought them together and become one if only we managed to overcome some of our political squabbles, like our idiotic our idiotic obsession with free market economics keeping us from having a functional socialized medical system, which literally is the only thing that really keeps America and Canada separate, besides they have a Windsor parliamentary system and we have the presidential system.
As a free market guy myself, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree with you on that one. I don't really trust big government programs.
Let's not get on an economic debate, but the point I'm trying to make is Trump literally threw away 100+ years of garnishing soft power to basically soft annex Canada peacefully and with brotherly love so he could be a jackass.
You know,
You know
this
what?
actually
That does work for the pro Canada crowd. He blew it. Like he blew
yeah,
that gradual culmination to a peaceful annexation. That should
he
work
did.
for
He
us.
did, and it actually reminds me of, I mean, just to get off topic briefly, but I
That he
promise
blew it.
that this connects. I promise this connects. This reminds me of a GIF from a show called Veep. It's a very funny show, and if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it. But basically, it's a White House staffer talking to another White House staffer, saying, "What's going on?" And then the White House staffer says, "The president is tweeting," and then the other staffer just starts running to the Oval Office to try and get the tweeting to stop. It kind of reminds me of how the conservatives in Canada were hoping that Trump would just stop talking about the whole 51st state stuff, but he wouldn't do it, and as a result, the liberals ended up winning the election. And as you said, William, the 100 years of trying to build that soft power just gone because of the massive amount of truth social tweeting, speech making, and just overall press releases or whatever the heck Trump was doing, and it was just hilarious to watch.
I I
Has to
think we should.
do is shut his mouth, and he can't do it.
Oh no, he
We
can't do
should.
that. That's the one
We
thing you
should.
can never get Trump to do, and that's
Question
why it's so
gone.
funny because the GIF came out. I think it was in 2015, 2016, or something like that, before Trump was even in office, and it predicted it. It
Yeah.
predicted this, and it's
You know
funny.
what? You know what? We should send Trump a gift card to thank him for uh, for. We should send him a gift card thanking him for snatching defeat from from the jaws of victory. Uh,
Oh yeah,
that is
absolutely.
the
America seems to have the habit of doing that with Canada because we kind of did that during the War of 1812 too, because the general in charge of that got cold feet about his supplies lines and basically chickened out of taking Ottawa.
Huh.
Or during the Revolutionary War, Congress called Benedict Arnold back from the siege of Quebec, even though he very easily could have taken the city.
Oh, bro, nah. I don't know about that one. He
If,
kind of he lost that one badly.
So what is your
well,
guys' like idea then? Like if ultimately American soft power and ties with Canada was to ultimately lead to an annexation, how would you have done it if not this way? I mean, I'm not saying how Trump went about it was good at all, but like how do you see Canada willingly like becoming part of the United States?
I personally don't think they would, but I still think the whole ranting and its consequences was hilarious to see from a political science point of view, because I love seeing this kind of stuff happen.
think barring the situation where the US ends up balkanizing, that Canada joining the US is inevitable simply because there aren't enough cultural and economic reasons that they should stay separate. The only reasons they are separate are completely political in nature.
Interesting.
I would no, how do I do this? Part of the issue that I've had with Trump since he at least came back into office, if not, the what was it, 8 years he's been in like the national headlines every day since, is that he really seems to just be very reckless. I'm not gonna say incompetent. I don't think it's incompetency, but I think it's recklessness because of two factors. One, his own ego, which you just have to study the man. He's egotistical. Period. And then also just how the kind of like the corner he's boxed himself into with his how he's popular, how he uses popularity and converts it into political power, is that and you can see it now with like the constant treating on Truth Social, Twitter, what have you, is that it's just what the term that I like that I've heard that I like is that we live in the age of content in which everything that's done, whether it's by small time influencers or by actual political and business leaders, is that you just gotta make memes out of it. You just gotta get like people's attention, and it's it's just like with the brain rot with the from like the inability to like focus on a video for more than 7 seconds, is that it's just like this constant like uh what's the military term? It's like shock and awe. That's the term. Shock and awe. So no crap. Like the not opportunity, but our process of trying to like, integrate Canada to make it more dependent on the U.S. went up in smoke because the decision was made that we have to use this like this issue or this idea and you shock and awe it in order to like gain attention, gain popularity, gain support or whatever, and it really did blow up in our face.
Hmm. Yeah, it did. It
I also
really
want to make
did.
it very clear that I am in support of taking over Canada. I think it makes cultural and strategic sense, if not economic. And but my trade off, how I convinced in my mind, okay, we lose Canada as an independent kingdom, but then we gain America as its own, and we eventually turn America into a monarchy. So it's a net zero.
Mm.
We trade one to
Um.
gain one. That's
I
how
see what you're
I
saying.
reconcile it in my own
Now,
mind.
I see what you're
here's
saying.
one
I disagree
caveat
with it.
about America inheriting Canada. Quebec is going free. We are not keeping the Quebecois.
New
No, screw
France
them.
can come back. I guess that'd
Okay,
be a
you know
good
what?
thing.
Fair. You know what? That's a good point. A kingdom of is if I will not be in favor of America annexing Canada until after we get our damn monarchy. Once we get our monarchy, I'm all for it.
Mhm.
Go ahead, annex Canada and let Quebec have their own like kingdom of New France.
Yeah.
Wait,
As a
I
Puerto Rican, I do not want to see more America Republic. I mean, I love this country, but yeah, no
You're
more.
Puerto
You have
Rican.
enough land already. You do not need more land to steal, buddy. You've already stolen enough to begin with. So,
You're
yeah,
you're Puerto
please
Rican.
no. Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. I know
I
I don't
disagree
sound
with.
it. That's because I was born and raised in Florida, but my family's from Ponce. So, and I
No, no,
personally
I
am
was
a
just
reunificationist. So,
I'm just amazed because it's like your username is
I
Austerlitz.
like Napoleon.
Yeah, I know it's just a little hilarious. Like this dude says he's from Puerto Rico, but his username is based off of a German location. Like
I know. I know.
it. Oh,
I
Everyone
it's
mean,
goes
I've
through
seen
the.
worse. Like, there's this Hungarian I used to be friends with, not friends with
Oh,
anymore, who who
yeah, let's not talk
lives.
about this one.
No,
Let's
no, no,
not talk
no. I'm
about
just
that.
saying he had like these random names, and at one point he had an anime waifu PFP, which really did
I
not
mean,
correspond with anything about him. But
I can't
yeah,
say crap because my PFE is also currently an anime character, but
that's true. But at least it's not. It doesn't
it's a
look like it's
dude.
from an unsolicited website.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh god,
Yeah, now you're getting yeah.
oh
I
god.
disagree with letting Quebec be free. I'm not saying we integrate it as a full part, but I disagree because and then in terms of strategic reasons, it shoots us in the foot entirely to have like an independent
Mhm.
country still exists and in such a crucial area as the St. Lawrence River. I'm not saying we oppress them. I'm not saying we do anything like that. I'm just saying it. the same logic in taking over like Western Canada and Greenland or any of these other places. It's to like make sure North America is on lockdown. And so to
My
give this independent country, like that, unless Quebec is significantly reduced and vassalized, I don't agree with allowing Quebecois independence.
My idea was that we keep the south bank of the St. Lawrence River and then make the St. Lawrence the natural border.
I
I'm
think
going
we
to
need to take over northern Quebec. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, when I have my next meeting with my Kanzuk friends, I look forward to informing them of your various opinions regarding Canada, because there's going to be some Canadians in that meeting, and I cannot wait to hear their reactions, and I will be sure to tell you what their reactions are, because I can guarantee it's going to be hilarious.
Oh, I got
Oh.
Canadian friends I drink with occasionally. Like they know my opinions. We've gone in.
What's
Into
their
debates with them.
response to? I'm not judging your opinion. I'm just curious. What's their have they spit their drinks out? What are they?
No, because we're all already like all hammered and stuff. But no. I mean,
Okay.
I'm friends with them. We can be keeping respectful and everything. We're cool with each other. But it's like you're not unlike with other countries. You don't find like these hardcore like patriots in Canada. Not to say that Canada's like not patriotic or whatever, but it's like it's different than if you got in an argument with like a person from Serbia or India or something. It's completely different mindset. But they go back to the same reasons. Ties with Britain and the Empire, the unique fusion of Anglophone and Francophone cultures, Canadian freedoms as opposed to American tyranny. It's all these like basic things you hear. Though, if you want my opinions on Kazakh in general, again, I speak for myself here, not for the organization or anyone, but I think we should take over Canada and the UK and Greenland,
God.
even though Greenland's, part of Denmark. Australia and New Zealand, we keep them as allies, proper allies, good allies. We need them. But the other two, we need to put on lockdown.
Are you
Leon,
James K. Polk reincarnated? What are you?
Go on, Prussian.
I was going to say, what I find funny is that on the one hand, you're isolationist when it comes to like Europe, Middle East, and elsewhere, which I can sympathize. But then, in like in the Western Hemisphere, you're like the exact opposite, like full on imperialist and annexationist, which I find hilarious.
I don't consider myself an isolationist. I don't. What I'm thinking of is strategic reconsolidation. I'm not trying to. I accept that we're not going to remain the world superpower. I accept that this is a unique moment that will pass eventually. Okay, it's not going to happen tonight or tomorrow, but it will eventually happen. And I also I don't believe that we should just cut ties with the entire world and close ourselves off with like what the Ming dynasty in China or the Tokugawa shogunate in Japan did, because then we leave ourselves so totally exposed to eventually being taken over.
I see.
Even though there are some more domestic benefits of having like full-on Ming or Tokugawa isolationism, which I might research in the next couple years, do like a proper like a thesis or dissertation on. But
you're like a
I view
pragmatist?
myself. I am a pragmatist. I always consider myself more of a pragmatist than an ideologue of anything, any sort.
Yeah, same here. Like with foreign policy,
especially with foreign policy. But I could, if you really want, if I really am to be stay with me here, like take on like the mindset of like another world leader or whatever. I think about this as if if I was Diocletian or Heraclius of the Roman Empire. You have this moment. You have these moments of like the sun is setting in a way, or the star is setting, let's say, and you have to think, okay, how can I make sure we don't fall off? How can we survive? How can we survive as best as possible without losing everything or without stretching ourselves too thin?
I get it.
And
see,
I in my opinion, it's my apocalyptic vision or dream, nightmare or whatever, is that we will lose everything because we can't reconsolidate. And it's not just about foreign policy; it's domestic, it's the internal stuff too. Look at how like the economy, how unstable it is. Look at the growing like inability for the youth to find jobs outside like the service gigs or like buy a house. Look, look at the inflation. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'll say
Yeah,
this:
I get
a
it. I get it.
trillionaires
Yeah.
should not exist, and that's not because I'm not a communist. I'm an anti-communist, if anything. But it's like the idea that we have this much money. I don't think it makes sense to have these like massive astronomical numbers that people have never had to comprehend before. I just combine the domestic plus the foreign policy. I think will eventually collapse, unfortunately, and that doesn't mean America disappears, but it'd be such a shock to the system that it will take so long to try and like recope and stuff.
So it's all
I
the
mean,
more reason why our allies need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps,
yeah,
become more
we need
self
allies.
reliant. They need to become more self reliant before the crash comes, before the shockwave of our decline like really starts to hit. They need to be self sufficient by then, which is why I'm in favor of what I call the cold turkey approach in regards to Europe and the Middle East and so on.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
need the cold
No, I
turkey
agree.
approach.
We need
Yeah.
actual allies. I mean,
That's
that doesn't.
exactly where Kanzuk comes in.
I don't think
Yeah.
Kazakh's gonna work. I don't think it would work.
Well,
I think maybe
I think
Bro, don't be
maybe
such a Debbie Downer.
no,
Good.
I will say, I just want to point out, I think
Gentlemen, I'm just saying the hour's getting late, so everyone, final thoughts so we can wrap this up.
Oh, actually, I do have a quick thought. Because I actually wanted to talk briefly about the American First crowd, or rather,
Can we
the
save that for another night, given how late it is?
okay, because
Sure, we could do that whenever the next one is. I'm
Yeah, we
game.
could do
All
that
right,
next
then.
week.
All right then, fair enough. Because it was like a genuine good faith question that I actually wanted to give to any American First people who are watching this, but I'll save it for next time. Yeah.
All right. Anyone have any final thoughts on the multipolar world, or are we good to clear it out?
Actually, one thing I just want to say, to people who doubt Kanzuk, anything can be pulled off with good campaigning. So we will see. We will see.
And
I don't think it's sorry, person, just so I can give my response to that. I don't think it's feasible. I don't think it would last, or it would do anything outside just keeping the cultural ties and like this symbolic, God save the king stuff. I mean, it's so spread out across the globe. You have Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. They're so spread out. It's like, how are they even gonna coordinate to do anything? The best you're gonna do is that instead of it just being four separate guys, it's gonna be a group of four guys saying, this is bad, this wall bad, we don't like this wall. Oh, this climate change bad. We should think about how to fix climate change and twiddle our thumbs together. That's my opinion.
I understand.
I'm very cynical about Kanzuk, but go on.
But I would say that Kanzuk, in addition to good campaigning, as I think Kanzuk can be made more and more feasible. Like if like a good start would be to get rid of the post-war neoliberal establishments within the UK and Canada and so on, with the likes of Keir Starmer and Mike Carney. We just need to get rid of those guys. These managerial elites that are holding their own people's back. They're holding their own people back from recovering from the decline of the neoliberal world order. I think I think the first step is to get rid of those elites.
Fair enough.
All right. Without further ado, y'all please join me in prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Thank you all for joining us this week on Monarchist Minute. We hope to see you again next week, same time, same place. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. If you're listening to this on a service like Spotify or iHeartRadio, or even Pandora, hit whatever the button is and make sure you get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Follow us on social media. If you want to join and help out the cause, you can either join us on Discord, send us an email, or send us a DM to one of our social media platforms. We will get to you promptly as soon as we can. Until next time, may God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you, and good night.